My name is Stan Mark. I'm chair of the Communications Committee for the ClassACT HR73. And we're here to share with you things that we do on a normal basis and on an ad hoc basis to get the word out. Our mission is it's not too late to change the world. And so we are very active in promoting that. And the goal of the Communications Committee was to get the word out to not only our classmates initially, but the Harvard community and beyond that. Some of the objectives of what we're trying to do is alumni engagement and having fun. So people are still finding out about us, and we're doing everything we can to bring more people under the tent and join us. And we're using technology to do that as well as traditional means. So let's get into the meat of it, the actual vehicles we use to communicate. The first is our quarterly newsletter, and I'll have Henrietta talk about that.
Just as it says, we put out a quarterly newsletter that is really focused on more substantial articles about whatever we're doing or attempting to do. In between the quarterly newsletters are the bulletins, where we are making announcements about what's going on. We're providing updates about our Bridges programs. And so we often will focus on one of those in the newsletters. The way we do it for both the newsletter and the bulletin is basically Marion and or Jonathan present ideas for what the subjects are going to be each month. I am responsible for sort of collecting those ideas and collecting articles. Some are written by myself based on information I'm given. Others are written by other people and I edit them. I then kind of organize how I think the articles should go in each thing. And then comes our linchpin, Diana, who really helps me to be organized on what the articles are going to be, when the dates that I need to present them or have them ready. She then formats the whole thing into, as you're seeing, a really nice looking format. And the other thing we do is at the beginning of each newsletter and bulletin, we try to sort of present an introductory remarks, which initially started to acknowledge what COVID was doing to all of us and has sort of evolved into comments on what's going on each month. I guess you're looking at the March one, and kind of to reiterate what ClassACT is all about. So in terms of getting the word out and how often do you have to do it, my thought is that at least monthly, to send out to as many people as possible. Once Diana formats it, a lot of people on the committee step in and proofread, edit, and make other suggestions.
Newsletters and bulletins go to the classmates, to people who we know are interested in ClassACT. We have a much broader list of people who are just interested in the forums, but we don't tend to send the newsletters and bulletins to them specifically unless they indicate interest, because it's a lot about our class specifically. So it's about, I think, 1,500 people that it goes out to every month.
It has become in many ways a multimedia presentation because Rick has been doing wonderful videos that accompany the articles that members of the Communications Committee and I have written. And I think that's a wonderful tool. I mean, he will do a video that's, say, 4 minutes long that would accompany a longer article that hopefully someone would have the time to read, but if not, they would get a very vivid sense of what a bridge project was doing or what kind of issue our classmates are tackling, as in the case of gerrymandering.
One of the real problems with gerrymandering is it is usually done out of public view. So most voters, even well-informed voters, really don't know what's going on. And that's the way the state legislatures that are running this process like it. You get sort of safe seats, either on the Democratic side or the Republican side. And so naturally, legislatures focus on who can really get them elected.
We send something out each month, 4 times a year, it's a quarterly newsletter that has an in-depth article. Dick Friedman usually is the one who interviews a panel, an individual, and the topics are very current. The other 8 months, basically it's an update with programs coming up, what you need to know, what events are happening, what certain classmates are doing. So it's more informational and less topical. The Harvard Magazine is bi-monthly, and they have a deadline for class notes. So I try to put in something about what ClassACT has been doing and is about to do, because by the time it's printed, obviously it's past tense, it's happened already. And if we have something in the future, it allows people to know about that. I think most people at least thumb through, when you get Harvard Magazine, you go to class notes and you go through that. Another Harvard vehicle is the Gazette. The Harvard Gazette is very picky about how often they promote a certain group or whatever. I think this article had to do with Philip Lovejoy, who's the head of the HAA, commenting on ClassACT and how it's changed alumni engagement. Depending on local events and so forth, we try to get into local newspapers as well. Another thing that's come under our purview are the annual surveys. That's been a great source of finding classmates who have special skills and talents and who are volunteering their time and efforts to help the bridge projects or networking or whatever. So that's been a good way to do things through this survey, and we learn a lot about what the interest of our class is. Given that our class is kind of at the back end of the technology wave, we still employ social media. The best way that we found to do this was we hired somebody from the outside who specializes in it, and she's become part of the team. Diana, you want to talk a little bit about what Katie does and the analytics and how it drives the forums and different things that we do?
Sure. So like Stan said, we hired somebody to handle the social media because it's a job in and of itself. So we have Katie Marinello who does that for us. We have a Facebook, a Twitter, and a LinkedIn, as well as a YouTube channel, which we keep pretty active. And basically Katie posts probably 2 to 3 times a week, either to promote events or to promote the events of other organizations we work with, stuff like that. And she also, we have a monthly analytics report that Katie draws up that I can show you briefly, with analytics for what our website looks like. Here, let me put it up. Sidebar, everybody can see this, right? With just like visits to our website, traffic sources and which pages are the most popular. And we do the same thing for our emails that we send out, which we use Wild Apricot, which has some built-in analytics. So if your website uses that, that's something to take advantage of as well. We have here like how many people, it'll just tell you how many people it was delivered to, how many people opened it, how many people actually clicked the links. And then we do how many people clicked each specific link. And we have this similar analytics for our YouTube channel of how many people came to the channel, which videos did well, our most popular ones. And same thing for Facebook. And same thing for Twitter. Would really recommend Katie. She's great, and knows other social media people as well. But it just helps to spread the word for different events. Katie also posts in groups for our forums that we do, and we get a lot of people that way engaged, and people who are younger or from different classes who might be interested in the particular topic that we're putting on.
Katie also does seminars for us challenged technology people in the class of 73. So we learn, and it takes a number of impressions to get us to do it, but we're coming along that way. Diana, you mentioned Wild Apricot. It touches the communications committee because obviously the website and so forth. And this is kind of overall information, not just communications, but in terms of your own ClassACT, it's good to have an infrastructure. So all the work isn't on you with your time and so forth, that there are people working on your behalf to help you navigate.
Stan, a quick question. Who's paying for Katie? Whose budget is she on?
It comes out of our budget. We do not fundraise per se. We're not a fundraising organization. We don't do it for our bridge projects. However, we've sent out a note at the end of the year, and we've had classmates who have been so impressed with what ClassACT does that they donate. And
Great.
obviously, we've got a little kitty that we're able to afford the outside help. It's been invaluable. Maybe Marion or Jonathan could talk to that point.
The fundraising, as he said, is toward the end of the year, and some of our classmates have been very generous and supported the work. And as a result of that, we are able not only to pay for our 2 part-time staff people, Diana and Kate, as well as Katie, who is an outside consultant, and also we pay for having the wild apricot service and various other services that probably are listed in our toolbox, right, Jonathan? So.
I would just mention that one of the things our overall multi-class strategy has as part of it is we have created a toolbox where there are a number of things in there that any class can use or borrow or find out about. We're hoping that over time, the multiple classes will contribute different pieces or that they can put in different tools that they have used. Nini had helped a lot with getting us to our last iteration of that, and we're about to work on another one. But it has a lot of information like governance documents, for example, bylaws, corporate filings, forms to get not-for-profit status, those types of things, so that any class that can use those resources is welcome to them. Wild apricot, I would just say, it's a diverse, multi-value product. And there are others out there, but it does our email system. It's our contact management system for keeping track of people in our class, as well as keeping track of people who attend various events. It's the events registration center. So it does a lot of different things for us. And I think it's been beneficial. It's very beneficial to us as part of our infrastructure, but very critical to our communication strategies.
It's also very good for a small organization such as ours or yours. And it doesn't have every bell and whistle, but it has plenty.
It's called Wild Apricot. And what we did there is there's a consultant we found who has worked with us over time. It hasn't been terribly expensive, but we have had somebody who knows that product who has worked with us to help us tease out its advantages.
We mentioned website. In fact, tomorrow we're having a meeting. We're going to be updating the website even more. So it's a constant thing that the communications committee does. And having said that, the communications committee really touches every part of ClassACT. We have basically one meeting a month, usually 2 weeks before the newsletter or the bulletin goes out. And we have various topics, as we talked about, social media, website. But the last thing I want to talk about is reunion. Our 50th reunion is coming up next year. And we had our first event a week ago. And we've been kind of charged, the communications committee charged with coming up with a slogan, a tagline about what we're going to do at our reunion, our 50th reunion. And I think we're going to be very involved with the reunion in terms of planning the programs and so forth.
I wanted to add 2 things. One is that in reality, it's more than a communications committee. It's also a marketing committee. So we're sort of trying to figure out ways to market ClassACT to our classmates and to whoever is willing to listen. And, that's that's one piece I wanted to say. And then the other thing with regards to the reunion, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that Rick was planning to do a series of videos for our reunion that will help market the bridge programs as well as ClassACT, I think, as well as other members of the class and what we've been up to.
Just to reiterate, the videos, the forums, they're all on the website. You know, we archive everything and can always go back to it. So we keep a record and so forth of doing that, which is helpful, especially if you miss one. Most people don't like to miss them. The forums have been so good. You know, we hope you've learned something and can take something away. And this is what we've done, and we're hopeful that you'll use some of this so you don't have to go down the path of the learning curve, trying to find out for yourself how this works and so forth. But we would appreciate any ideas that you have that we've missed or aren't using that we'd like to try. So it's a two-way street.